This is our league, and this is your league. Broadcasting from the 55-yard line in Japan to the shores of the Great White North and everywhere around the world on Gridiron America Radio and the Sports History Network.
Alrighty, we are live here. It is Fran and Greg right now. We are live, and I am finally back from the States after being gone all of June. And Fran, how are you doing, my friend? It's Dave.
A long time to see.
Yeah. For those who are watching right now, Dave will be jumping on with us, and hopefully in a little bit. And yeah, no, it's good to see you, man. It's good to, there's a lot of stuff sports-wise that I need to catch up on because during my trip to the States, I was so focused in on, family and all that, I mean, literally my days lasted. It was more exhausting than 3 weeks, my first 3 weeks of my deployment to Iraq, 17 years ago. It was just every day, just go, 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 go. So I missed out most of June with sports. So, I mean, we can talk CFL after Dave comes on, but let's start off with you with what's going on around the leagues. And WNBA is kind of where you and I decided we want to kind of start this thing as we kick off. So what's going on in the WNBA?
Well, a week ago, Caitlin Clark made WNBA history, becoming the first rookie to drop a triple-double, 19 points. 13 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals as the Indiana Fever upset New York Liberty 83-78. So Caitlin Clark has been gold for them.
And with Caitlin Clark, what's the Caitlin Clark impact?
Commercial flights. Remember, they weren't doing that before? Now
right.
Now they're getting better flights, ratings, exposure. Even the voting. I mean, the voting's been through the roof for this All-Star game. Everything is just attendance records. Everything. It's a Caitlin Clark mania is running wild.
Is it? In terms of, is it just like Indiana? Is it a full impact across the league?
It's getting to be a full impact because some of the markets are doing better. Some of the rookies coming in the league. Angel Reese. Her and when she was at LSU, now she's playing for Chicago Sky. They've had Angel Reese is like a Bill Laimbeer of the WNBA.
Okay, and but in terms of just marketing and everything, I mentioned this, before we went on air. Has the WNBA arrived? Would you say in terms of the impact into the league? I'm sorry, I'm working behind the scenes here, trying to get everything up on our live stream. Unfortunately, just hold that thought for a second. Talking about live stream, I mentioned before we started this that hey, we had a lot of viewers on Twitter. Twitter apparently now has changed their requirements for us to go live stream, so we're not on Twitter. So if anybody's watching right now, I think we're only on Facebook on my own personal account because our Facebook page for the podcast still needs 100 followers, and we're at 80 right now. So and we're also on YouTube. So again, Fran, I digress. I apologize.
Well, Greg, I'll add you to it as well. You already tagged me with that anyway, so I was going to add the show to my podcast. Yeah,
and if you could get those, we'll talk about that after we wrap up the show in terms of pushing the shows out on other platforms. So, but going back to what we were talking about with the WNBA, the WNBA is now more in the public conscious. I mean, there was a time when living in Chicago, you never heard about the Chicago Sky. But now it's every night there's some type of news article. there's some type of news story about this guy playing.
Well, I'll give you one thing with the ratings. Saturday's Liberty Fever WNBA regular season game averaged 1.87 million viewers on CBS, marking the 5th largest WNBA audience in 23 years. Each of the top 5 have come this season involved Clark and the Fever. Indiana's win, which peaked at 2.65 million at 245, was the 12th WNBA history to have a 7-figure audience, tying 2022 record. The WNBA entered the season having gone nearly 16 years without 7-figure attendance mark. Clark and the Fever have played 11-12 games with 1 million plus viewers this season, and led to the lone exception of Sparks Aces on May 18th. As should be no surprise, Clark Bonanza is translating into a higher ad revenue for networks. According to advertising analytics, WNBA games generate an estimated $12.4 million in television revenue through the end of June, up 36% from the same point last year. So it's really doing well, Greg. I mean, it's getting there, and more players will be on the horizon. Paige Buckets next year will be another, people star from UConn, and people keep an eye on. The players are getting better. It's more fun to watch, and it's nice to see them finally. Hopefully, they can start being more profitable and make money. They're adding new teams in Toronto and Bay Area, so we shall see how the WNBA does, Greg.
Are they talking expand? Well, in terms of expand, I mean, with expansion, again, my ignorance it shows on the WNBA. How many, for those who are listening and don't know anything about the WNBA, how many teams are there in the WNBA?
Right now there are, I believe, 12, and I will tell people how, let's educate people. We'll tell people what these teams are. We're going to start off with the Atlanta Dream, Chicago Sky, Connecticut Sun, Dallas Wings, Indiana Fever, Las Vegas Aces, Los Angeles Sparks, Minnesota Lynx, New York Liberty, Phoenix Mercury, Seattle Storm, Washington Mystics, Golden State Valkyries expansion next year, and then Toronto is expansion as well. Okay.
Well, I was actually getting at, I kind of missed that when we were first talking in terms of the expansion of the league. So the league now is looking at expansion, but only 2 teams to start off with the expansion.
Well, and eventually they're going to add more, but they haven't expanded. They haven't expanded forever, so it's about time they're at least doing that.
Right. Well, and that probably due, again, the Caitlin Clark effect.
It definitely is. I mean, the hype, the exposure. I mean, people want to own WNBA teams now. People want to be part of it. So that's they have to choose wisely the markets, stability and everything else. They definitely have to choose wisely. Well, let's move on. Let's stick with basketball. Greg, have you ever watched any of the Big Three?
No.
Big Three, the Ice Cube League. Right now it's like a 12-team league. Just they travel by city, but they've added. They're going to be on home markets next season. And so far, the 4 markets are Detroit, Houston, Los Angeles, and Miami. So far.
And the Big Three in terms of, I mean, it's 3-on-3 basketball, right?
Yeah, it's 3-on-3 basketball. It's been around for a while, for quite some time, like 8 to 10 years. The thing is, it's 3-on-3 basketball. I mean, players haven't played, who are not in the WNBA play. People, long-standing players as well.
Okay, because to me, I mean, I've looking online and everything, kind of seen, talk about it and everything. To me, it's just like it's a professional version of pickup basketball.
Yeah, and they're finally going to go into home markets too. So that's going to, maybe more people will follow it, having a team to cheer for instead of just a trilogy, or they might finally have a team to cheer for. But the Big Three, I'll give you guys a little history on the Big Three. That's what we like to do on this show. Educate people. And 1 second here. Here we go. The Big Three. We'll talk about teams now. Three's Company. Michael Cooper's the head coach. Three-Headed Monsters. Rashad Lewis. Aliens. Rick Mahorn. Ball Hogs. Rick Barry. Biovac.
Bivouac.
Payton.
Did you say biovac? It's
no,
bivouac.
Bivouac, the ants. My mistake. Yeah. Enemies: Nick Young, Ghost Ballers, George Gurman, Killer Threes, Charles Oakley, Power, Nancy Lieberman, Trilogy, Steven Jackson, Tri-State, Julius Irvings, and Triplets, Lisa Leslie. As you can see, Greg, there's a lot of big NBA players on this list, and some women's basketball players as well.
Yeah. And in terms of its, I mean, how do you watch it? I mean, is it on YouTube or is it? I mean,
CBS and X, Twitter. That's what it's on.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you can only so you have to watch the games on. For somebody like me, I can only access it really through Twitter then.
Yeah, Twitter, because it's on CBS Paramount Plus and then Twitter X. So
okay.
And their first season was 2017, and they have 12 teams in the market.
Okay. And but in terms of the popularity of it, I mean, who's watching? I mean, who is the league geared towards? Is it just regular basketball fans looking for a different kind of fix, or I mean, who is it? Who is its target audience?
Probably basketball fans wanting their fix. Also, probably a little summer basketball, so people can because the NBA season's over, and the thing is they have quality players, and the thing is they have like a 4-point shot, which is interesting. Only a 14-second shot clock. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, and they're hoping to have teams, maybe a team in London possibly. So we'll see how it goes out.
Okay. And who do you got next around the leagues here? Let's
talk about Major League Soccer. We haven't discussed that for a little bit, but
yeah,
Atlanta United have transferred midfielder Thiago Almada to Brazilian top flight Botafogo for MLS record fee. So the thing is, MLS is they're growing, but the thing is, they're also sending players to foreign teams for big money too.
Well, so players are going from the MLS over, say, to the Premier League, over to the European leagues.
Yeah.
Did that happen much before?
A little occasionally it does. I mean, every once in a while, a player moves over different leagues occasionally. So that's not a big surprise with Major League Soccer. They've been around forever, so it doesn't shock me. But a couple players move around. But and let's move on to NWSL. Kansas City will be hosting the NWSL Championship Saturday, November 23rd. That's going to be that's the first ever women's only soccer stadium. So that's going to be a good situation for NWSL there.
And with the NWSL, how are they doing in terms of, say, with the ratings and the fan expo? I mean, are they filling the stadiums? How popular is women's soccer now, would you say, in the States? I know you're a big fan of it, but in terms of overall, is it getting the exposure? Is it getting the financial support? Is it getting the attendance figures that the people who created the league were hoping for?
Well, I definitely agree. It is because at the halfway point of the 12th season, the National Women's Soccer League has much to celebrate as attendance, viewership, and engagement metrics continue to soar. For the third straight season, league regular season attendance has surpassed 1 million fans. The feat was achieved during the match 91 of the league's 182-game slate this season, marking the fastest NWSL campaign to reach the milestone. En route to the million mark, 6 clubs have club attendance records, including Chicago Red Stars, who set a new NWSL single match record in Week 11 with 35,038 fans on hand for the club's historic match against Bay FC at Wrigley Field, which you went to recently. The match also surpassed the long-held attendance record for America's Women's Professional League, set by the 2001 Women's United Soccer Association. As far as the attendance metrics are concerned, 10 teams broke or matched home opener records to kick off the 2024 season. Overall home opener attendance grew by 18% since 2023. Week 11 marked the first time in league history that the league single attendance NWSL played to a combined record attendance over 100,000 fans. 49 matches Half the game season have had crowds of over 10,000 through week 13. The league is comfortably on track to surpass its new mark of 55 matches with more than 10,000 fans in the stands. Heading into week 14, the average attendance league sets at 11,089, the highest attendance of any women's professional soccer league in the world. Over half the NWSL 12 clubs in 2020 season are currently at or exceeding average attendance marks this season.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So it's a thing. I mean, women's soccer, there's been a huge uptick, obviously, in women's professional sports. So, women's professional sports definitely is trending upwards, even here in Japan. What do you say as far as the future of, do you see women's soccer being as popular as men's soccer in the States?
Well, I think it's just as popular to a degree because NWSL gets good ratings and support. It depends. MLS is kind of like I wish Dave was here to because David is a big MLS fan. I like the women's sport, the NWSL, better. I cover North Carolina Courage games; they're more exciting. MLS, it's kind of like you have to have. I really feel you have to have a team in your market to really care. I know everyone loves Lionel Messi, but I'm not on that bandwagon.
Okay, and let's talking about women. Who else? Where are we at next with on the league list in terms of who are we talking about today?
Well, actually, I'll give you one right now. 1 second.
Okay.
How about the USL Super League? That's the league that's going to kick off this August. I'll give you the teams that are going to be playing: Brooklyn FC, Carolina Accent FC, Dallas Trinity FC, DC Power FC, Fort Lauderdale FC, Lexington Soccer Club, Spokane Zephyr FC, and Tampa Bay Sun FC. They have a deal with Peacock. That's pretty good for a startup league. And I don't live that far from Charlotte, so I'll probably be going to a Carolina Accent game eventually. More women's soccer players getting exposure, getting a chance to play. It's to a point where it's good to have spread it around as women's soccer in as many markets as possible.
They got so with the USL, do they have a team? I'm being selfish here. They got a team in Chicago?
Not yet. USL
Okay.
Super League, the women's not yet. Because it's funny they have a team in DC for both leagues. So another league we can talk about is a league that's going to kick off next year. Is the Northern Super League. That's in Canada. Right now, they're gonna have 6 teams: AFC Toronto, Calgary Wild FC, Halifax Tide FCs, Montreal, Ottawa, and Vancouver. So
they're playing, and they're going to be start playing in the autumn.
In next year.
Okay. Oh wait, no, the Canadian League. They're playing in autumn, or are they playing in spring? Or how's it working? Do you know?
Well, that women's league is going to be playing next year. The Canadian Premier League is playing right now. That's the other Canadian Premier League. We'll go to that right now since we're talking some soccer.
Yeah. And as we're talking, I've got the CFL game on here. I got with the BC Saskatchewan game on the other screen.
Right. And here are these Canadian Premier League teams: Atletico Ottawa, Calgary FC, Forge FC, HFC Wanderers, Pacific FC, Valor FC, that's in Winnipeg. Pacific FC is in British Columbia. Vancouver FC, York United FC, which is in Toronto. Saskatchewan, Saskatoon as an expansion team. So soccer is just people just love having leagues around the country, Greg.
It's weird talking about soccer because when I was growing up, we didn't have soccer on the menu. I don't know if it was the same way when you were a kid. Probably not, because if I remember correctly, you grew up in a much bigger area than I did. But when I was growing up in Central Illinois, we didn't have soccer on the menu. So it's interesting now seeing soccer even in my hometown newspaper. Heck, my nephew was all conference for his high school soccer team this past year. So soccer is huge, and it's really weird when it comes. Soccer is huge everywhere, but yet in the United States, it's still considered a minor sport. It boggles the mind. And obviously there are different reasons for that. Even in Canada, it's still a minor sport. But to see how much the sport has grown because of the grassroots efforts that happened, in the early, in the late 80s and early 90s with kids, because, soccer was seen as a much safer sport for kids to play. And just to watch those grassroots efforts, the kids that were playing soccer now are full-blown adults going to these games and supporting these leagues.
Yeah, soccer is it's not just a sport you play when you're a kid anymore. Now it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah. And in terms of hockey, we got any hockey talk going on?
Yeah,
it's summer.
Yeah, I got some hockey talk going on. The American Hockey League, the Seattle Kraken announced that Derek Laxdal has been hired as a head coach for the franchise's affiliate, the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Laxdal succeeds Dan Bilsman, becoming the Firebirds' second head coach in franchise history. So that's AHL affiliate. That's one of the new affiliates, Spanish team, Seattle Kraken, and then their Spanish team there. We have with the ECHL, Cincinnati Cyclones, in conjunction with National Hockey League Toronto Maple Leafs, have announced an affiliation agreement. The Cyclones previously were an affiliate with New York Rangers, while the Maple Leafs were affiliated with the Newfoundland Grizzly Growlers since 2018. So some affiliations there. Another hockey league, the Federal Prospect Hockey League, announced their 2024-25 schedule. They will be entering the 15th season that begins in October. Each team plays a balanced 20 home games, 28 road games. This year, the FPHL would like to welcome 3 new members: Athens Rock Lobsters, Athens, Georgia; Dashes Hockey, Danville, Illinois; Monroe Moccasins, Louisiana. The FPHL will also welcome the Hudson Valley Venom. Hudson Valley was purchased by the Elmira River Sharks at the end of the 2023-24 season. With the new additions of the FPHL, starts the season with 14 teams.
Okay. Did you say there was a team in Danville, Illinois? Did I hear you right?
Yes.
Really? Wow. Danville's a small town. Danville's one of those towns in central Illinois I've never been to. So it's not that far from where I grew up. So it's just I heard that, I'm like, what? Okay. So with the league, so do you know any more other than than the locations of the cities that these teams? Is there any more that's been put out in terms of arenas or anything like that?
They play mostly small arenas. It depends on the market. That's
okay.
It depends on the market. Let's change the football a little bit now.
Sure.
The Elks signed American Sean Oakman. You know him. The guy had so much off-field issues, and he wasn't at fault. That, Greg, with Sean Oakman.
Yeah, and he's going to so he's Canada's problem now until
the Elks.
He runs up. He wears out that welcome, which is usually what happens.
Yeah,
a lot of these guys going to CFL.
Because Oakman joins the Green and Gold after being released by a Toronto organism on June 11th. The 6'9" lineman spent 3 seasons with Double Blue, 2021 to 2023, where he won the 109th Grey Cup in 2022. So, in his 45 career games, Philadelphia native has recorded 90 defensive tackles, 18 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. So, that guy was, people thought he was going to go to UFL, United Football League, and that didn't happen. Or he didn't. I think he did play in the XFL with the Los Angeles Wildcats back in 2020 before the league folded.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting. The Edmonton needs all the help they can get, and they're at 0-4 right now.
Yeah.
So, that's shout out to our friends over at the Turf District podcast. It's been a hard team to watch for many years now. So, so we'll see. So, speaking of football, and like I said, we'll hold off on the Canadian football talk until Dave hops on, because Dave and I yesterday, we were testing out his new microphone, because the last show we had when we talked CFL, unfortunately, his fan in his head, we had technical issues. So Dave and I were talking yesterday online like this, just offline, just testing his mic and everything to make sure everything was good to go for today. But so Dave will be hopping on here in a bit. So I see you've got your XFL shirt on. So let's talk about the UFL. Let's kind of talk UFL here. Your thoughts on the past season, how it went, kind of the product itself, because I did not watch the UFL here. It was hard for me to watch the UFL this year, just because of the fact I'm out of the country and have to rely on a VPN. And I think I was footballed out too a little bit. But your thoughts? How was the UFL? I mean, we know they're going to be around for another season, but what'd you think? What were some of your thoughts?
I'm glad I didn't go to St. Louis for the UFL championship. That was a 25-0 shutout. I would have been disappointed going to St. Louis for that. I'm glad I did not go to that championship, Greg. That would have been hard to, do all traveling and then get a dud game. That would have been tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was fun. It was enjoyable. I wrote my columns in my Players Week. It was fun. It's also one of those things, Greg, where you really have to have a team in your market to really, feel more attached to it.
And with the attendance and everything, because I kept, even though I didn't watch the games, I kind of followed along and everything. But other than St. Louis, how was the reception of the UFL in the the other 7 markets?
DC did decent attendance. Let me pull these numbers up. Here we go. 1 second here. Well, the XFL Conference Championship had 30,237 fans. The USFL Conference Championship had 10,287 fans. And the UFL title game, which they had announced, was 2,396 fans. Gave the league a 22 average K in the postseason. So,
and that's for 3. And so, how many people showed up for? Because I've read on Facebook about not that I can trust much on Facebook anymore, but in terms of, so once St. Louis was out of it, and from what I read, were St. Louis fans then just trying to sell their tickets because they weren't going to go to the championship game no matter?
Yeah, I mean, the announced attendance and people there are 2 different things.
Okay, so not how many people actually did with the UFL championship? What did the stadium look like? Did it look half
empty? I mean, I don't know the exact numbers. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to speculate on.
But it wasn't a good. It wasn't a good look on TV.
Not as good as it would have been if St. Louis got there. Like
right.
Greg, the average attendance was 12,820 for the season. That's what the average attendance was.
Which, I mean, compared to the year before with both leagues, was that better or?
It's a little bit worse than. I think it's a little bit worse than last year, but the thing is, they have to do more marketing. They have to have more year-round production. They have to get the schedules out quicker.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, from what I saw and from what I read, they're kind of making the same mistakes as they did the year before. Again, boils down to marketing and engagement, but like you said too. I mean, there's only 8 teams, and they're not even in the 8 major markets. They're not in LA, they're not in Chicago, they're not in New York. So it's kind of, it's kind of hard to get excited about the league if you don't have if you're not in the major markets. I'm the old football historian here, so I always, pound my talk about the original USFL. And how great it was. I mean, their marketing was great, when they started out of the gate. Unfortunately, the owners ran the league into the ground, and it was gone 3 years later. But do you think the UFL is going to be around for a while, or do you see this as just a couple-year experiment at this point? I mean, do things need to get better?
I think it's going to be around for a while.
Okay.
Well, this season will hopefully attendance will increase, ratings will do better. Hopefully they start the week after Super Bowl. That's what I think. Just go against March Madness or have a bye week during March Madness if you have to.
Yeah, I mean that to me made no sense when they were scheduling game. I mean, the season started during March Madness. I'm like, okay, no, I go back to what you said. Better to probably follow on right after the Super Bowl. That way you build up your audience So when you get to March Madness, you don't have as big of a fall off on ratings.
That's definitely true.
And I mean, with only 8 teams, it's easy. It's not like you've got to try to schedule, like what the NFL does, 16 games per week. But you've only got 4 games, kind of like with the CFL. You can stagger your schedule with games. And with the UFL, I mean, they pretty much were on broadcast TV this year, correct?
Yes, they were. A huge amount of games were on Fox, ABC, some ESPN, ESPN2, one FS1 game, a USA game. No more USA games. NBC doesn't do them anymore.
Okay. And so I mean, right there, I mean, just it's, so they've got the exposure on TV. It's just getting people to watch. And again, spring is a hard time because you're competing with so many. I mean, the February-March timeframe is so competitive for sports viewing, and even into April when baseball starts. So I mean, they held their own, at least ratings wise, from what I saw. I mean, their ratings were better than most other sports, most other sports and most other leagues. To get 1 million people to watch a game.
Yeah, I mean, people want to watch football. I mean, come on, the game was a blowout, and you still got 1.5 million people to watch that game.
Yeah,
I give them credit. I mean, I fell asleep during it because I was just tired from doing things. But people want to watch football; they crave it, and it's just the thing is, if you market it properly, if you do more sports gambling, if you do more in the communities, it's a step-by-step progress. Hopefully, they build and. They have to give it several years. I mean, that's what Major League Soccer pulled the plug. Look how long it took for them to be profitable and do well. Build it up. Build it up.
Yeah. Have you ever read? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if you ever read the book about Lamar Hunt, any of his biographies where he talks about, the MLS. That whole, the founding the MLS is a pretty interesting time. It's a very interesting sports story, and Lamar Hunt's, involvement. I mean, if it weren't for Lamar Hunt, the MLS would not exist. Period.
He would have folded a long time ago. He owned like a bunch of franchises.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's baby steps, and football is the most expensive sport on the planet.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's huge. I mean, here in Japan, I mean. You see it here in Japan. I mean, let's face it. American football, the X League here in Japan is one of the best leagues out there as far as football talent, hard work. But you don't have the marketing. It's such an expensive sport. But unfortunately, if you don't market something properly, you're never going to make any money on it. And that's what we see here in Japan with the X League, and kind of why they're nobody. I mean, rugby fills stadiums here. Baseball fills stadiums. Basketball is becoming popular here, but American football is not a popular sport, and it's sad to see Sundays around here where there's like, okay, what's on TV? There's no football. It's really, even after 2 years here now, 2 football seasons, it's still weird to see. It's like, there is no football here on Sunday. It's just odd. So, and even on Saturday too with college football.
That's definitely true. Hopefully David joins us soon, but let's move to arena football a little bit.
Sure. And so what's going on with the Arena League? I mean, okay. So like I said, I left for the States at the end of May. Is the Arena League still around? Is the Football League still around?
It's still around. Albany advanced to the Arena Bowl. They defeated the Salina Liberty 80-59. There's a game on 10:30 my time on CBS Sports Network. It's going to be Billings against Nashville. So, and they go advance to that, and they go to, wait for it, the mall. I saw somebody make a comment. They're playing the championship game in a mall.
Yeah. Where at?
I'll tell you right now. In New Jersey, where East Rutherford used to be.
Yeah.
1 second. Yep.
Over in the Meadowlands?
Yeah, close to there. Yeah. That's 1 second. Yep. Well, actually, the American Dream will host the Arena Football League Championship game. So that's where it's gonna be fresh off the world's first ever sports residency. The Harlem Globetrotters, American Dream will welcome a major sport event this summer. The Meadowlands Mega Mall is scheduled to host the Arena Football League Championship game, Arena Bowl 33, July 19th. Part of the 3-day series of events. Festivities include various activations, player meets, billed as fast-paced version of American football. The sport features will be played on field. The American Dream Mall will transform its NHL-sized hockey rink suitable for arena football. So we'll see how it goes, Greg. It'll be on CBS Sports Network next week. We'll see how it goes.
For those who are watching, probably the best place to get your Arena Football League news, at least for me, is the guys over at the World Football Podcast, Randy and Adam Snow. So I gotta catch up on their podcast because I know they're huge arena guys. So I don't know. I don't know. The whole optics of the league from day one has been bad. So hopefully, it can't get any worse. But playing in a mall might be bad.
Well, we'll see how it looks next week. I'm probably gonna be busy, but I'll tape it and watch it.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad, let's talk about something you may know a little more about, the European League of Football, Greg. What do you think about that league?
To me, it's just looking at the league and looking at what I have gotten from them with emails and stuff like that, asking for money, subscribe for next year's championship, next year's online TV package. I've always just assumed it's a Ponzi scheme because I don't know. My gut just tells me it's you got franchises that fold. I don't know. I don't think it's on solid financial ground. I mean, that's really my take on it. I mean, I have opinions, but they're based on just what I see, not what I know. So I'll leave it at that but I don't see the elf lasting. I don't see the elf being around next year. Maybe I'm wrong. I got people here in Japan pissed off at me for some of my opinions about, one of the teams I'm always betting against. So I could be wrong.
We'll look what happened with the Barcelona Dragons team. They decided to quit the second half of the game. It was getting blown out because they didn't have enough players last week.
Yeah. It's just bad optics. And I still don't understand the economics of the league because I don't think there are that many football fans. I mean, they've got a online TV package, which is great, but that's not enough to sustain a league just from people subscribing to your TV package. But again, I could be wrong, but to me, the optics have always been like, oh, okay. Even with the LFA down in Mexico, I've not quite, at least with the LFA, from what I've seen, they've had in some stadiums pretty decent attendance, but the LFA is a semi-pro league. The X League here is a semi-pro league, so not everybody gets paid. It's only some of the guys get paid money, meaning the Americans coming over and they're paid to play. But most of the guys that play in Mexico and say in Japan are not paid. So I don't know with the elf if everybody's being paid or it's just the Americans. I'm kind of guessing it's probably just the Americans that are getting paid, but I don't know. I don't know enough about the league at this point. I mean, I got a go-to person I can ask the questions to, which I will, for my other podcast. But I don't know. My gut feeling tells me the elf's not going to be around much longer. That's all. There are too many other leagues in Europe that the German football league being the most, there's a league in Austria too. Every country's got their own league too. So I just don't know I think the elf wanted to be the NFL of Europe, but I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling with any of the news articles I've seen or any of the emails I've gotten. So, what do you think?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it's definitely not NFL Europe style.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the NFL couldn't make money in Europe,
but at least it was a better product.
It was a better product. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's the thing with the NFL, and maybe we could talk a little football here, talk about with the NFL. But the NFL, I mean, do you think honestly we're ever going to see a team in Europe?
It depends on when they're so gun shy to expand. You think they would have wanted to expand by now with all the more money they can make? Maybe that. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm sure some people have markets for teams, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I think the only way you're going to get the NFL. I mean, the NFL wants to expand in Europe. I mean, the NFL wants to make the NFL is the richest league in the world, and they make all their money, 99.9% of it, in the United States. So there's a lot of money to be made outside of the United States. The question is how do you pull that off? How do you turn the NFL into a global league? I mean, geographically, it's impossible. I mean, you look at baseball. Baseball is a good example of how a sport is global, but yet they're still able to. I mean, Japanese baseball, Korean baseball are becoming the equivalents of Major League Baseball, and you see that through the World Baseball Classic. But we don't have anything like that. Same way with soccer too. The World Cup. I mean, but we don't. The America is the big kid on the block when it comes to football. And yes, you do have the IFAF just had championships, but that's at the under 20 level, the younger level. But we don't have a World Cup of American football, a Gridiron Cup that other sports have. So I just don't know how the NFL is ever gonna. I could see them expanding if they're serious about expanding into Europe. Okay, well you're gonna literally have to create. You're gonna have to do something with the way the American and national conferences are set up. So, hang on a second here. Dave is on deck here. I'm bringing Dave online here. Hey, Dave, what's up, bud?
Hey, everybody. Good evening.
Hey, man. What's going on? You got I see you got the headphone on. You got
Yep.
We can't hear the fan. So we're audio-wise, we're doing pretty good.
Fantastic. Good. How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
You're here for down the stretch, another 15 minutes of your expertise, David.
So where we're at right now, we're talking NFL expansion to Europe. So I'm just putting my 2 cents in. I was just going to say, I don't see the NFL. The NFL, if they're going to expand in Europe, they've got to add more than just one team. It's got to be they got to throw 8 teams in there. They've got to throw 8 teams in there, and then just I don't know how they're going to do it with the conferences and all that. But you're going to have a European division in each conference. That's just my thought.
I mean, I would be surprised if they did 8. I would see 4, but I could see the goal being 8 for sure. Because I don't think they could do more than 8. I don't think that would be sustainable. But it's coming. It's going to come. It's going to come soon. I wonder if it's going to be a European division and then something like a world division where you would have, and Greg, you would know better than myself, the distance from say Mexico City to Japan.
Forever. That's a distance of forever.
Division forever.
Yeah, it just takes so freaking long for travel.
4 teams making up a Europe. Okay, so
yeah,
but it's on the horizon.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner than later, but it's all going to be controlled by who will give them money.
Yeah, well, again, everything boils down to money. We were just talking about the elf. So your thoughts about the Elf? What do you think?
I don't. Speaking with you and listening to the chatter, my gut says it just started. It expanded too quickly,
Right.
in my eyes, and I think it just started. They wanted to be everything to everybody, so I just feel like they started grabbing teams that may not necessarily been ready to go to that level, and I think they're paying for that now. I think there's some, just like in all leagues, there's some healthy teams. There are some teams that are hanging on, and then some teams that are wishing the season ends sooner than later because they're. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great option to continue playing football and getting a paycheck to play football.
Yeah.
I hope it continues, but
Yeah.
I think that there needs to be a emphasis on generating revenue than announcing teams, and I think that'll be a big step for all of them if they can take some time and really work on creating revenue streams that help offset the cost of travel, players, equipment, everything that goes into owning a football team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Elf, like NFL Properties is a good example. I mean, NFL Properties doesn't fund the league. The NFL Properties funds all the league's charities. But if, even with the CFL, I got the game on here over, and BC is winning. So we'll see how this game goes. Hopefully it'll be another good end of, the CFL is always exciting, but the problem with the CFL is they just don't market it properly. And again, when you were describing the Elves problems, to me, it just reminds me of the CFL American expansion. You had somehow, they went into the States with no plan. They just wanted expansion fees to keep the league alive. And that's, to me, that's just how I feel what the Elf looks like when I see that. I'm like, oh, okay. You're adding a new team, but is there a reason why?
But, and a lot of sports teams make the mistake. They jump on board, they open up the doors, but they aren't staffed. They're staffed to get people getting out there to sell tickets, sell sponsorship, sell game night events, and just really, it's almost in minor league sports where the owners know at the end of the day what's the most that they can lose in money, and then go backwards instead of, okay, let's focus on creating revenue.
Right.
Basically go backwards and, okay, the worst we can lose is $1 million. Let's try and only lose 800 instead of, what? Let's make $1 million. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the USFL back in the 80s.
Yep.
It's when the owners bailed. It's like, okay, I'm done. So I'm going to sell the team now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had a few teams, people always forget, you had a few owners who actually made money in the USFL because they sold at peak, but they saw where it was headed and like, I'm out.
And that's their expansion too. They went from 12 to 8. Like, they took all
12 to 18 teams, and then
because that basically every one of those 6 teams were paying XYZ number of dollars, and the owners looked at it and goes, hey, I can just about cover my losses in year 1 by bringing all these teams in with no thought process of, okay, how do these 6 teams, how are these 6 new teams here in 84 and 85 and 80, like, how do we keep them in? They were just looking to keep the doors open tomorrow. Can't blame them.
No, you got to pay the bills. You got to pay your players. That's what it really boils down to. But you've been in minor league sports long enough. Both of you guys know it's just, it's hard to make money in any really sports team, even in the main. Unless you're an NFL owner, and that's just printing money at this point.
So David, what's your take on the Arena Football League playing in a mall for championship?
I am curious to see how that's going to play out. That is, I've seen some of the chatter. I understand it's a mall, but I've also heard it's a cool setting. I've not been there, so I mean, they did have both semifinals games are on CBS Sports Network. So
Albany won the first game
they
today.
did?
Albany won, and the next game's on Billings and Nashville, which
Okay.
10:30.
I mean, that's more games than the IFL had on TV this year.
Well, CBS Sports Network isn't I really it's a paid tier channel. It's not really. It doesn't even get Nielsen ratings.
Look, I understand, but I'm just saying we're this all these leagues are looking for their next set of investors. So if I'm Jeff Fisher and I'm the Arena Football League, I'm going, look, there's one game on, and look at how many games we had on. So, like I said, it's only as good as the teams who are actively selling tickets, selling sponsorships, generating revenue. Those are the ones that'll be around year after year. Will be here 5 years from now. So that's just how it works.
Yeah. So, listen, we are 10 minutes to go here in the show, so let's talk a little CFL football. Dave, you and I talked, so while I was in the States, I missed pretty much the first 5 weeks of the league. I kind of kept track of everything in the standings, but I had a whole lot of stuff going on during my month away. So I'm actually, as we're sitting here talking, I got the BC Riders game on. This is my first weekend of really watching the league. So in the first 5 weeks, man, what did I miss? What were, obviously Montreal is kind of picking up where they left off after winning the Grey Cup. But then you got the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that are basically, yesterday's game, they won decisively, but they got a losing record here at the first, at the end of the first quarter of the season.
I would say the story is the teams that are winless aren't as bad as their record shows, and the teams with undefeated or one loss may not be as good as they look on paper either. Just rolling through Montreal, they started off strong. They obviously through the first 4 or 5 weeks, best team in the league by far. With last night's or with Cody Fajardo going down, not sure how long it is. And also
he grabbed that hammy, and it's like, oh, that doesn't look good. That's not
a 1 week injury.
No.
But and like I said, that kind of changes their dynamic as well. Their defense has been great, but their offense sets up their defense, or defense sets up their offense. So, but going through the rest of the East, Toronto, no one expected Cameron Dukes to play as well as he did. Obviously, he's still young, so he's had a couple rough games, but through 5 games are 3-2, and the Argos can't be upset with that start.
No.
2-2, they're in the mix. It'll be interesting to see over the course of the next, say, month, how they keep going. I expected them to be in the mix for the playoffs this year. We'll see how that turns out. In Hamilton, Bo Levi Mitchell is having statistically one of his better years in probably 5 years.
Yeah,
the defense is certainly letting them down. They need to be able to stop some people. He's putting up great numbers, 300 yards or close to every week. But if you're giving up 40 points, you're not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah. No, it's it was nice to come back, and it sucked. I couldn't watch the beginning of the season, and it's just the nature of travel. You and I talked about this yesterday, and it's like, traveling back to America, and just, I had so much going on. It just,
Dave, we mentioned that the Edmonton Elks signed Sean Oakman. What do you think of him?
I you know what? They're in a position where they're 0-4, but they're close. A bounce of the ball here, a bounce of the ball there, and they could be 2-2, 3-1.
Yeah, and
that's sorry, Greg. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, that's just the way this season's gone. I mean, I think it's been a couple mistakes here and there, a couple bad things that have happened that put them at 0-4. But once again, I would say just like Levi Mitchell, McLeod Bethel Thompson's playing well. I think the offense is doing well. It's just a couple short circuits here. Them at 0-4 instead of 2-2 or 3-1. I mean, I think it seems like they've added a bunch of players. From what I've seen, it looks like, I know he's a very polarizing person in the CFL, but it seems like Chris Jones has his team going in the right direction. They're being competitive. I think that's all you can ask for after the tough 2-3 years that Edmonton's had.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching the game tomorrow. I mean, I'm rooting for the Elks because, some of my good friends are, over at the Turf District podcast. I just want to see the Elks win for them because I know I could, I know how frustrating it is for them as fans and to cover the team to see how bad it's been. So, and also too, to see that, that the number of people going to Elks games just dwindle. And that's the other hard part to watch when you watch. Because I remember when I first started watching CFL games, I mean, that stadium used to be rocking, used to be packed. In fact, I remember they, I think they had a $5, they opened the beer garden and they got like 40-some thousand people into that stadium, most of whom were in the beer garden, but they had 40,000, but it was impressive. So, go ahead, Fred.
What's your take on the Toronto Argonauts? Do you think it's what the coach says he's still committed to Chad Kelly start when his suspension ends? Is that a wise move? What's your take on their play so far this season? Personally,
Chad Kelly gives them the best chance to win. So Chad Kelly's going to be on the field, and I heard another Canadian football show talk about this, and it'd be the same for all 40-plus football teams in North America. This is a business, and if Chad Kelly gives you the best chance to win, he'd be playing for every team. Period. Just how it works.
Yeah. That's how it is with quarterbacks, man.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Yeah. That's the reason why. That's the reason why Bob Greasy quarterbacked the Dolphins in Super Bowl VII versus Earl Morrall in Super Bowl VII, because he was the best quarterback that the Dolphins had. Mm-hmm. Even though, he didn't get into it, he had been injured, most of the season and didn't get into a game until that AFC Championship game when they were losing against the Steelers. So, I mean, you bring in the best guy, but with the CFL, I mean, the way the quarterbacks you start with in the CFL are usually not the quarterbacks you end with. Mm-hmm. Am I correct? I mean, that's pretty much how the trend in that league.
They get injured all the time. It's good that Chris Strevel came back and had a good game for a win when he played. But every single, at least half the quarterbacks go down with injuries, at least every season.
Yeah.
Only one quarterback played every game last year.
Who was that? I don't know.
Jake Mayer, Calgary.
Okay.
Only quarterback played every single game.
And I remember when Jake Mayer came in, he replaced who got injured? Bo Levi Mitchell.
Yep.
And then, so it just never.
Another quarterback never got hurt was Anthony Calvillo. He never got hurt playing.
That's true.
Football. Never.
That's true.
Never got hurt.
But they also the Montreal also knew that he wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't going to move out of the pocket, so they had to create that pocket because he was not going to run. Like if I remember, I just remember from myself watching. He reminded me like Dan Marino. He dropped back, and he was just going to pick you apart or throw it away.
Yeah.
Well, the other quarterback who's getting another start this week is Shea Patterson. So he's it looks like from what I last saw, he's holding his own against BC. They're in the game.
A former number 1 pick of the USL draft by the Michigan Panthers.
Yep. So he's playing well. And then Vernon Adams is on pace for 6,300 yards. Incredible.
Yeah.
It's about time he gets to play because the kid he bounced from team to team, and now he's finally a star.
Yeah, he's got 3. I think he's got 3 more weeks to play, but I think that's what they have until. I'm drawing a blank now. The starter in Saskatchewan.
Who's the MVP candidates before we end the show?
Vernon Adams. I would say it's Vernon Adams to lose right now.
Well, he's not losing it. He's not losing it right now because the Lions are winning right now.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got
incredible.
352 passing yards for this game.
Fantastic. He's my fantasy quarterback. Double points again this week.
Nice. Well, guys, on that note, we shall wrap it up here, but you and I will continue the conversation offline here after we wrap up. So everybody who is – okay, so here's the thing. Right now, as I'm looking at the numbers, we've got nobody watching the live stream right now. But, again, it's late over there. And also, too, because apparently now we got to pay to live stream on Twitter. So I've got to look into that and to see what that's all about. But for the Facebook page – listen, anybody who's watching on YouTube or kind of catches this, especially because I posted this on my personal feed and I've got that's a potential audience of like over 1,000 people. Go to if you could, so we can get back on our From the 55 Yard Line Facebook page. We're at 80 followers right now. We need 100 to be able to live stream on that channel. So I am, I hate even asking, but push the like and subscribe button and follow button because we just do this we're just guys just sitting around. We like talking football and talking sports and all that stuff. So, but yeah, to get Facebook just screwed us over on their requirements now for live stream. So, and I know, you guys will, push this out too and try to get the word out, but that's the reason why we're not doing the live stream on Facebook now. I'm going to be posting the YouTube after the show is over, posting the YouTube clip for this show because we're still live streaming on YouTube. So that's the key. That for us, that's the key one. But Facebook and Twitter are the other 2 platforms that we normally live stream on. But unfortunately, during the month I was gone, I did not realize that they had changed the rules and everything. So that's where we're at right now. So with all that said, hey, this is Greg with Fran and Dave, and we are signing off, and we will be hopefully talking to you real soon. Sooner rather than later now that I'm back here in Japan. And, we'll be talking more CFL stuff and more minor league sports with Fran. And with all that said, any final words, guys? I'm rambling here.
We're good. Arena Bowl next week in a mall. That'll be fun to talk about in a future show.
Yeah. If I can find it, hopefully they're going to broadcast it. Hopefully I can figure out a way with the VPNs and everything to watch that game. Speaking of VPNs, Dave, before I let you go, before we wrap up here, for those who are watching that are maybe live in the States that want to watch the CFL, apparently using a VPN is not going to get you. If you live in the States and you're like, I'm not going to pay to watch on CBS Sports, maybe I'll just use a VPN and just try to watch it for free on their CFL Plus. That ain't going to work apparently because I've been messing with it. Like yesterday, I'm like, oh yeah, they've completely figured out the VPNs. With the CFL has figured out how to block the VPN. So with all that said, that's that's something I've learned over the course of being here in Japan. How to use, VPNs and how to watch sports. That's a whole show unto itself. So, okay. With all that said, hey, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. And this is Greg, Fran, and Dave signing off. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.